Hello and welcome to this video where we will use Pydantic together with Gemini that we can structure the output from Gemini. We structure the output and we validate the output that it follows a specific schema. This makes sure that we can use Gemini in a way to get out the data in a format that we can use later on for further processing. For example, we will show using this to simulate some data. Usually when you take an LLM to simulate data, if you just use, for example, Gemini directly or ChatGPT directly, the app, then you will get everything in text. If you do that in Python when calling their API, you will also get it out in text. However, when you get it out in text, you cannot work with it further. For example, I want to pick out all the values and do some processing, calculate on something or populate some database or something, then it will become very difficult if it's in text and unstructured. We'll use Pydantic and its validation capabilities to structure the output that you can work with it further on. Also, I think this might be the first Gemini video that I've created. Maybe I've created another one, I've forgotten. However, I will go through how you will get the API key, how you will set up using .env and then set up Gemini to work with it, and then going into Pydantic to work together with Gemini. Let's go into the browser first to get the Gemini API. Go into Gemini Developer API here. And afterwards, when you're here, you do explore models in Google AI Studio. You need to create an account and log in, or you can log in with your Google account. Then you can just get an API key. Click here. Here, my API key is down here. Then let's move back into Visual Studio Code. Here I am in an empty Visual Studio Code. I will start a new terminal. Let's see. Start a new terminal. And I will create my virtual environment and then source.ven bin activate my virtual environment. And then I need to install some packages. Hit install ipykernel to work with Jupyter Notebook. I will need to have a google-generative-ai. I will need to have Pydantic, and I need to have python-.env. And maybe something else, we'll see. I install this, done. And to get started here, we'll create a .env. And inside the .env, we'll have a Gemini _API _key equals to, here I will just type in something. I will say, this is my API key. Here you should paste in the key that you get from your browser. Inside of Google AI Studio, you have your API key, you paste that one into here. You don't need the quotes, but this is my API key. Or actually, I'll show you without the quotes, like this. Maybe I will do like this actually. This is my API key, okay. Then I will create my Gemini Pydantic.ipnb, the Jupyter Notebook that we'll work with. And I will call this with Gemini. Okay, we will just start to read this to see that we can connect this .env. Also, another important part is that if you're working in a repo, which you should have a .gitignore, and in the .gitignore, .env should be there, that you ignore this file because you don't want to share your API key. That is only for your eyes, okay? From .env, import load.env. And then I'll do load.env. And then I will take import os and os.getEnv. I will take my Gemini API key, and just to see that, yes, this is the string that I get back. You should get your API key back, but then make sure you comment this out and run it again, that it doesn't show the output. Otherwise, if you push this up and you have shown your output, that is your API key, and your repo is public, then you have exposed your API key, which is not good. Make sure don't print this out. Just print this out for testing yourself, but don't do it when you're pushing in the code. I'll save this and then I will pause the video and I will put in my own API key. Then afterwards, we'll continue and create our Gemini model. Okay, it's time to create the Gemini model. To do that, we have now loaded our API key. Let's do like this. Client equals to we need to import GenAI from Google, import GenAI. Client equals GenAI.client. There's an error here. Probably we need to do like this. Source.venv bin activate and then uv pip install google-gemini-api. I forgot to install it. Importer cannot import name GenAI from Google, unknown location. Okay, it was solved by just restarting it. After we've installed the Google Gen AI and then restarted it and run it again and it works. Okay, good. Now we can put in our API key. I will copy this one here. Command X, paste it in, and we'll have API key equals to this one. Now we have our client and we can get it to generate some response. Response equals to client dot models dot generate content. Model equals to Gemini dash 2.5 dash flash, comma, content equals tell me a programming joke. Okay, let's try this out. Print response.text. Got an unexpected keyword argument content. Generate content. Let's see, response.text models.generate content. Content. Contents, it must be with an S. Okay, good. Okay, now it generates a response. Just wait for it. Takes a little bit of time, but it's fine. Okay. Here's a classic. Why do programmers prefer dark mode? Because light attracts bug. Cool. Okay, one thing you can see here is that the output is in text. It's in a way that it's quite hard to work with it later on if we want to continue working with it. Let me just copy this response here. I will copy this one and I will make it type something else. Paste this in. Now I will place in some text here. I will copy this one. I'll make a multi-line string. Now this prompt will be a little bit longer. You are a helpful assistant. It's standard prompt. I need you to create now we have a format object representing a library and some books. The library name should be Kulu Library and have the field's name and books that contains a list of books. Each book should have a title, author, and year. Make sure the output is a single valid JSON object like this. Give me 10 books. Okay, if I do response dot text now, response.text like this. Let me see. You can see this is here, but it's still a string. If markdown syntax, you know that 3 backticks will give us coding marking. This is basically a code. It's to demark that this is a code. If I print this out, print and response text, you can see it's a little bit different. It's a little bit nicer formatted because they have here tabs, a lot of spaces, and \n for new lines. However, we still have this JSON here. Let's remove that. We can remove that either by pausing it, or we can actually just tell it to remove it. Remove the backticks JSON and this backticks. Okay, if I run this again, we can see that it didn't remove it. It's not certain that it will remove it. Yeah, exactly. This is remove from the outputs. Let me try it again. Okay, now it removed it. That is actually somewhat tricky. If sometimes it removes it, sometimes it doesn't remove it, it seems. If I run it again, let me see if it's removing it. Yeah, it's removing it. Okay, fine. But if it doesn't remove it and it always gives it, then you can manually parse it by you can use string methods to strip this out. You can strip out the JSON and the 3 backticks without problems. But then, okay, if we print this one now, it looks like this. You see, sometimes we got \n, sometimes we didn't get it. Okay, it doesn't matter because this is it's still a string for now. In order for us to work with this one and to validate its input that it's correct, we need to use Pydantic. Let us do that. We go into we use Pydantic to validate the simulated data. Remember, it's a string now. From Pydantic, import base model. Base model is it's the class that we need to inherit. After we have inherited it, the class that we have is Pydantic model. If it's a Pydantic model, it has the different methods and attributes of a Pydantic model. We will take this one and we'll take in field, and then we'll do class book. This is a book and it's a base model. And the book should contain what? It should contain the title. Title is a string. Note that in Pydantic we denotate fields like this, and this will have the validation when we try to validate this. We make sure that the title actually is a string and nothing else. If it's something else, it could give a validation error. Author, it's a string as well. Then we have year. This is an int. And this year, I want it to have validation. I want it to be between, say, 1000, greater than 1000, less than equals to. I want to have this year from datetime, import datetime. We have year. This will give 2025, since we are in 2025 now. Class, and then we will have class library. This is a base model as well. This one have a name of, remember the name of the library is a string. We will have books as a list of book, basically. You can see that this is our name is a string. Books, we have a list. And then we have each of the books as a dictionary. What we need to do is that when we do this library, we can do like this. Library dot model validate JSON, because this is a JSON, response dot text. And this becomes a Pydantic model now. It's object-oriented. It's just a class that we can work with. This is a library class. Library equals to this library. Then I can take a look into, for example, library.name. Kulu library. We can take a look into library.books. And these are all the books that we get. The books are this list. Because why? We have a list of books. This was what we wanted. And we see that all the years are between 1000 and 2025. We can take a look into a single book, library.books of 1, because it's a list. We'll get Pydantic 1, and let's see, George Orwell, yeah, exactly, 1984. Okay, we get this book, and this book itself has, let's see, if I copy this one, I can take .title, and I can get this title here. I can take out .year, and I get this year here. As you can see, now it's an object that we can work with. We can add stuffs to it. We can pick out different things. Then afterwards, when we are satisfied with it, we can dump it back into a JSON if we want. What we can do with this is that we could send it to using, for example, Fast API, and we can serve models. By combining Pydantic together with Gemini, we could get more power from the LLM, because just using the LLM, we only get unvalidated data. We get data that is in a format that is hard to work with. It's just strings. But in programming and in systems, when you're building, you want to make sure that it's more structured. Now we have a structured way of working with this simulated data. For example, if I want to have all the titles now, it's no problems. I could do like this. Titles equals to book.title for book in library.books. Just this simple one-line list comprehension, we can get all the titles that we wanted. We could extract all the titles in certain years. For example, we could have like newer books. Let's see. We'll call it newer books. It's fine. We could have book.title, book.year for book in library.books. Then we get, let's see, newer books. We get all of them right now. But we could, for example, just take those that are from, say, 90, let's say we want this one also. From 1970s and up, we could do if book.year is larger than 1970. Then we only get these two books. As you can see, we can easily filter out what we want. And we could, for example, let's see, what else can we do? We have library. This is the library. If we want to do some processing and change this, afterwards we could get back our JSON by doing .model dump. Now we get this is a dictionary now, but we could get back the JSON. If we want to output this now as a JSON, we could do library model dump, but model dump underscore JSON. You see, we get this JSON string. And if we get this JSON string, we could as easily just with open library.json as W for write, as JSON file. We could have JSON file. I will paste this in library.model dump JSON. If I run this one, you can see we have this library JSON here. This is a valid JSON format. If I want, I could also specify, let's see, model dump JSON, and we could have indent, for example. to make it look a little bit nicer, we could have indent equals to 4, for example. If I run this one, will look very weird like this. But if you run it here, because there's a lot of new line characters here, but you can see it looks a little bit different now. Yeah, it doesn't actually. This indent is for, we didn't do the indent here, that's why. Indent equals 4, I run this one, and you can see, yes, it looks very good here. Okay, as you can see, there's a lot of power in using Pydantic to go from JSON to back to the class, and back you can use it to dump it, and etc. Let's see if you're very familiar with using Pandas DataFrame, we could work with that as well. Create Pandas DataFrame. Then I do need to install, let's see, uv pip install pandas. We could do like this, import pandas as PD, and we could do titles equals to book.title for book in library.books. I will copy this a few times. Now we have titles, we have years, we have authors, and now we should have this year. We should have author here. Then we could do pd.dataframe of a dictionary now. Let's see. We could do dictionary of title, titles, year, yes, author. In this way, we get the data frame that we want. We don't want, for example, we don't want the library name. We only want to take out the books, and then we can do some different processing with it later on. I run this one. Okay, here you can see this is our data frame. I'll call it df. With this data frame, we could do a lot of different processing. For example, we want to df.year. Let's say df bins. Okay, you can see here a histogram of these books here. As you can see, we can, when we have the data in a structured format, we can easily do some processing. We can do analysis. We can do plots, etc. The key is to get it into a structured format, and then if we want, we can output the format into JSON if we want, and we can work with this. We can create different data frames based on it. This gives a lot of flexibility. In this video, we have gone through using Pydantic together with Gemini, that we can get structured outputs and validated outputs from our Gemini. Using this, we could simulate data of a library. In this case, when we have simulated data, we could output it. That's in a very neat way. We could also work with it using Pandas DataFrame. We could make plots if we wanted to. Also, we can simulate whatever data we want if we use Pydantic to help us to validate it and make sure that it becomes in a format that we want. This way, we get something from LLM that is somewhat unstructured, and making it into a structured way, and then working with it as a normal Python object. We get OOP with this data. This is super cool, and I hope that you've learned a lot from this video. Thank you, and see you in the next one. Bye.